The tension was palpable the moment Kirk Frost stepped into the courthouse. His jaw tight and his eyes scanning the room like a man bracing for battle. Fans had been buzzing for weeks over rumors of a secret feud, but no one could have anticipated the bombshell that would drop that day. Jasmine, the woman whose name had been whispered in every corner of the reality TV universe, was at the center of it all, and this time, she wasn't just gossip fodder. Kirk, usually composed and calculating, seemed on the verge of snapping, and the whispers of blackmail and betrayal had sent shockwaves through both their families. The media frenzy outside was deafening, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions, and social media exploding with speculation. Did Jasmine really try to extort Kirk for money? One fan tweeted, while another posted, "The Frost family drama just hit a new level, this is insane." Inside the courtroom, emotions ran high. Kirk's lawyer laid out the shocking claims with a calm precision that only made the drama feel more intense. According to the filing, Jasmine had allegedly demanded large sums of money, threatening to release damaging information if her demands weren't met. The allegations were explosive, casting shadows over past moments that fans had once celebrated, and suddenly, every interaction between Kirk and Jasmine was being re-examined through a lens of suspicion and betrayal. Friends and family who had tried to mediate found themselves caught in the crossfire, with heated arguments erupting at private gatherings and whispered accusations spreading like wildfire. Meanwhile, Kirk's loyal supporters flooded social media with messages of solidarity, defending his name and calling out Jasmine's alleged manipulation. While critics suggested the story might be even more complicated than anyone realized, one thing was certain: the Frost family, once a symbol of unity and resilience on screen, was now splintered, and the world was watching every tense moment, waiting for the next shocking twist. The stage was set for a courtroom battle that promised not just legal consequences, but a revelation of secrets, lies, and betrayals that could forever change how fans saw the people behind the reality TV personas. The courtroom was thick with tension as Kirk Frost's team presented the first wave of evidence against Jasmine, and the atmosphere was so charged that even the seasoned reporters covering reality TV scandals could barely contain their anticipation. From the moment Kirk walked in, dressed sharply in a tailored suit that did little to hide the strain etched on his face, it was clear that this was more than just another legal battle. It was a confrontation that could redefine everything the fans thought they knew about the Frost family. Jasmine, seated across the room with her entourage, tried to maintain a composed exterior, but the subtle tremor in her hand as she adjusted her papers betrayed her nerves. Cameras captured every blink, every sigh, and every whispered exchange, feeding a frenzy outside the courthouse that no one could control. Kirk's lawyer began methodically outlining the allegations, detailing how Jasmine had allegedly approached Kirk with threats and ultimatums, demanding money in exchange for silence. The specifics, the lawyers claimed, were shocking. Private text messages, emails, and even voice recordings had surfaced that seemed to corroborate Kirk's accusations. As the details emerged, the room seemed to constrict, as if the walls themselves were recoiling from the weight of betrayal being described. Witnesses were called, each one adding layers to a story that was already gripping the audience. Friends of Kirk testified about his generosity and loyalty, painting a picture of a man blindsided by the person he had once trusted most. Family members struggled to maintain composure, emotions running high as they recalled private moments that suddenly took on a darker, more complicated meaning. "I never thought she would stoop this low," Kirk's sister whispered to a reporter, her voice cracking as tears welled up. The media, sensing a historic moment, ran headlines within minutes. Blackmail allegations rock Frost family. Fans shocked as secrets surface, and Jasmine's claims against Kirk under scrutiny. Social media erupted with speculation, each fan dissecting every available frame of footage, every public statement, every historical tweet, searching for clues, forming theories, and adding to the whirlwind of gossip and judgment. The tension spilled beyond the courtroom as well. Private conversations between family members, previously cordial, now turned heated and argumentative. Cousins who had always been supportive of both parties suddenly found themselves taking sides. Voices raised, friendships strained. The family, once a picture of unity, appeared divided, each member navigating a web of loyalty, fear, and outrage. Meanwhile, Kirk remained largely silent, allowing the facts to speak for themselves, his calm demeanor masking the storm beneath. The initial testimony revealed a pattern that fans found both shocking and fascinating. Jasmine allegedly used their shared history and intimate knowledge as leverage, crafting threats that were both personal and financially intimidating. The court proceedings took on a rhythm, a back and forth between the attorneys that drew the spectators in, each twist more dramatic than the last. Kirk's lawyer played recordings that detailed what he claimed were attempts by Jasmine to manipulate him into financial compliance. Her voice caught in moments of insistence and veiled threats. The recordings, though brief, painted a chilling picture of emotional manipulation and betrayal, leaving the audience in the gallery visibly unsettled. Friends and associates of Jasmine were called to testify, and their words only deepened the drama. Some insisted that she had been under pressure herself, dealing with her own personal conflicts and financial strains, complicating the narrative. The conflicting testimonies created a sense of uncertainty, a tension that kept everyone on edge, and as each witness left the stand, murmurs spread through the room, punctuated by the occasional gasp or whispered conjecture. Fans watching from home felt as if they were part of the unfolding drama, the lines between reality and televised spectacle blurring. Comment sections lit up with theories, accusations, and support for both sides, creating a social media maelstrom that mirrored the chaos inside the courthouse. Meanwhile, Kirk's legal team began presenting a timeline of events, meticulously detailing each encounter, each text, each email that allegedly demonstrated Jasmine's intent to manipulate and extort. The chronology revealed an intricate web of interactions, moments where private conversations had been weaponized, and instances where trust had been shattered. The weight of these revelations seemed almost tangible in the courtroom, as if the air itself was charged with the emotions of betrayal and disbelief. The defense, Jasmine's attorneys, countered with their own strategy, painting Kirk as someone attempting to tarnish her reputation in retaliation for personal grievances. The exchanges became heated, the room echoing with raised voices and punctuated arguments, and even the judge struggled at times to maintain order as emotions ran high on both sides. Behind closed doors, the Frost family held emergency meetings, trying to navigate the storm that had engulfed their personal lives and public personas. Siblings and cousins debated whether to intervene, issue statements, or remain silent, knowing that any action or inaction would be scrutinized by fans, media, and the public alike. Outside, the paparazzi captured every movement, every arrival and departure, turning mundane moments into fodder for speculation and headlines. The narrative had grown far beyond the simple allegation of blackmail. It became a story of fractured trust, family loyalty, personnel vendettas, and public scrutiny. In private interviews, Kirk expressed a mixture of frustration and determination, vowing to protect his name while acknowledging the painful personal cost. "This isn't just about money or public perception," he said, voice steady but tinged with emotion. "It's about standing up against betrayal, about making sure the truth comes out." Jasmine, in turn, offered her own version of events, insisting that her actions had been misinterpreted, that she had never intended to harm him, and that the media frenzy had distorted her motives. The tension between public perception and private reality fueled speculation, creating a sense of unpredictability that kept fans riveted. Throughout the proceedings, moments of unexpected drama punctuated the narrative. Kirk's mother, long a stabilizing figure in the family, unexpectedly broke down during testimony, her emotional display drawing sympathy from some and criticism from others. Heated exchanges between family members spilled into hallways, captured by cameras that seemed always to find the most explosive moments. Outside, fans staged rallies of support, holding signs and chanting, their devotion blurring the line between entertainment and reality. As the first day of testimony drew to a close, the room was thick with unresolved tension, and everyone present seemed aware that the story was far from over. Each piece of evidence, each testimony, each whispered accusation, had added to the mounting suspense, leaving both the Frost family and the public in a state of anticipation. The dramatic narrative was not just about alleged blackmail, it was about trust, betrayal, family loyalty, and the public's insatiable appetite for real-life drama. By the end of the day, the courthouse felt like a stage set for a reality show, each participant playing their part. Emotions heightened, stakes raised, and the audience captivated. The unfolding story had transformed into a saga, one where every twist and turn mattered, where every glance and gesture was scrutinized, and where the line between personal anguish and public spectacle had almost disappeared. Fans continued to speculate late into the night, dissecting every screenshot, every snippet of dialogue, and every leaked document, their engagement fueling a cycle of anticipation and suspense that promised the drama was only just beginning. As the lights dimmed and the last reporters filed out, there was a sense of uneasy anticipation. The battle between Kirk and Jasmine was far from over, and each side had yet to reveal their full hand. With secrets still buried, alliances fragile, and emotions running high, the next chapter in this dramatic saga promised to be even more shocking, more emotional, and more unpredictable than anyone could imagine. The stakes had never been higher, the tension more palpable, and the audience more invested. The Frost family's legacy, the personal reputations of those involved, and the perception of fans worldwide hung in the balance, and every passing moment seemed to ratchet up the drama to new heights. Every whispered conversation, every exchanged glance, every hesitant word became a potential revelation, and as the night settled, one thing was certain: no one could predict where this storm would lead next, and the world was watching with bated breath, waiting for the next twist, the next confrontation, the next shocking revelation that would push this story into uncharted territory. The morning of the third day of the trial arrived with a sense of foreboding, as if everyone involved, Kirk, Jasmine, their families, and even the audience knew that the revelations to come would shift the balance of power and perception yet again. Kirk entered the courtroom with a quiet intensity, his every step measured, eyes scanning Jasmine with a mixture of determination and restrained anger. Jasmine followed, her face carefully composed, though her hands betrayed a nervous tension that had become increasingly evident over the course of the proceedings. Cameras flashed relentlessly, reporters shouted questions, and social media continued to erupt with speculation, leaving no corner of the internet untouched by the escalating drama. Kirk's legal team launched into their next set of evidence with methodical precision, revealing exchanges that painted a complicated picture of manipulation and emotional coercion. Each text, each voicemail, each email was presented with commentary that emphasized intent, context, and the purported pattern of behavior, leaving the courtroom viewers at home both horrified and captivated. Friends of Kirk took the stand, recounting stories of past loyalty and the shock of discovering the alleged blackmail attempts. Their testimonies were laden with emotion, their voices quivering at times, and their words painted Jasmine not merely as an adversary, but as someone who had weaponized personal history to achieve financial gain. Jasmine's defense countered strategically, attempting to reframe the narrative as a series of misunderstandings and misrepresentations. But the tension was palpable as witnesses on both sides contradicted each other, heightening the sense of drama that had now permeated the courtroom. Outside, fans continued to dissect every detail, creating elaborate timelines, analyzing body language, and even interpreting microexpressions to support their theories. The engagement had reached a level where the court proceedings were not just a legal matter but a full-scale cultural event, with viewers feeling intimately involved in every twist and turn. The day's testimony brought an unexpected twist when a close friend of Jasmine's revealed private conversations that contradicted her public statements, suggesting an internal conflict and personal desperation that complicated the narrative. The courtroom was abuzz, reactions ranging from gasps to whispered speculation, as jurors and spectators alike struggled to reconcile the conflicting accounts. Emotions ran high among the family, who found themselves trapped between loyalty, disbelief, and the public's insatiable appetite for scandal. Heated exchanges erupted in the hallway, captured by cameras and instantly disseminated across social media platforms, turning private family disputes into public spectacle. Kirk's mother, often the voice of reason in previous conflicts, could be seen holding back tears as she whispered to a relative, the strain of the ongoing trial etched into every line of her face. The media, sensing another dramatic turn, published stories with headlines like "Frost family turmoil intensifies," "New evidence shocks courtroom," and "Fans react as secrets emerge." Each development added layers to the story, deepening the suspense and cementing the trial as a must-watch event. As the day progressed, more documents surfaced, including alleged contracts and messages that hinted at financial negotiations and threats. These exhibits suggested a calculated attempt to leverage intimate knowledge for personal gain, and their presentation drew murmurs and visible reactions from both sides. Jasmine's attorney worked diligently to frame the documents as benign or misinterpreted, highlighting discrepancies and emphasizing context. But the sheer volume and specificity of the evidence made the courtroom feel like a pressure cooker of tension. Witnesses continued to offer testimony, each adding their perspective on the interactions between Kirk and Jasmine. Some described moments of apparent kindness and generosity on both sides. Others recounted incidents that suggested manipulation or deceit. The resulting narrative was complex, layered, and utterly compelling, keeping the courtroom audience and fans around the world on edge. Social media became a battleground as well, with fan accounts passionately defending one side or the other. dissecting the evidence, and speculating on the eventual outcome. Every development, every revelation, every reaction was magnified, interpreted, and debated in real time. Back in the courtroom, the drama escalated when an unexpected confrontation occurred between family members. Kirk's cousin, frustrated and emotionally drained, stood up mid-testimony to demand the truth, their voice echoing through the room, forcing both attorneys to pause and acknowledge the emotional gravity of the moment. Jasmine's relatives reacted with shock and indignation, further intensifying the emotional climate. Kirk himself remained composed, though his eyes betrayed the weight of stress and the personal cost of this public battle. The day's testimony concluded with an intense cross-examination, revealing discrepancies in Jasmine's statements and casting doubt on her credibility. Each question, each pause, each calculated response heightened the drama, creating a rhythm of tension that seemed almost theatrical in its intensity. The Frost family left the courtroom visibly shaken, some members comforting each other, others retreating into silence, their personal bonds strained under the glare of public scrutiny. Fans and media followed every move, speculating on private conversations, analyzing body language, and projecting future confrontations with avid anticipation. That evening, social media exploded with reactions, debates, and commentary, with fans dissecting every word and gesture from the day's proceedings. The trial, initially framed as a legal dispute, had evolved into a cultural phenomenon, blending reality TV spectacle with real-life stakes and emotional turbulence. The lines between entertainment and reality blurred as followers around the globe became emotionally invested in the outcome, analyzing every detail for signs of truth, deception, and personal integrity. By the end of the day, one thing was clear: the narrative was far from settled. Allegations of blackmail, emotional manipulation, and financial coercion had taken on a life of their own, transforming the story into a saga of betrayal, family loyalty, and public scrutiny. Every participant, Kirk, Jasmine, their families, the lawyers, and even the spectators, was now part of a high-stakes drama with no clear resolution in sight. As the third day concluded, anticipation mounted for what was to come. The courtroom had become a crucible of emotion, evidence, and conflict, and every interaction carried the potential to shift public perception. The story of Kirk and Jasmine had grown beyond simple allegations. It had become a complex narrative of trust, betrayal, and survival under the relentless gaze of an audience that was both captivated and unforgiving. Each revelation added tension, each testimony increased stakes, and the emotional undercurrents ensured that the next phase of this saga would be watched, analyzed, and debated with intensity unmatched by most reality TV spectacles. With unresolved questions, fluctuating loyalties, and public scrutiny at an all-time high, the unfolding drama promised twists, confrontations, and revelations that would leave both the Frost family and fans around the world on edge. The fourth day of the trial opened with a palpable tension that seemed to hang over the courtroom like a heavy cloud, each participant aware that the events unfolding could irreversibly alter perceptions, reputations, and family dynamics. Kirk Frost entered with a purposeful stride, his expression calm yet taut with controlled emotion, while Jasmine followed, attempting to mask her own anxieties behind a poised exterior. The media outside had already set up a frenzy, with cameras flashing and reporters shouting questions, while fans speculated furiously on social media, dissecting every image, every snippet of video, and every statement released from the courthouse. Inside, the attorneys picked up the thread of the case, diving deeper into communications that allegedly demonstrated a pattern of coercion, manipulation, and intimidation. Texts, emails, and voice notes were laid bare, each piece framed to underscore the alleged threats Jasmine had made, each moment presented as evidence of a strategy designed to extract financial gain through emotional leverage. Witnesses took the stand, and their testimonies brought a mixture of shock, empathy, and outrage. Friends and acquaintances of both Kirk and Jasmine painted a complicated picture. Moments of apparent loyalty juxtaposed with alleged manipulation, memories reframed under the light of the courtroom's scrutiny, and interactions that took on a more sinister meaning in context. "I couldn't believe what I was hearing," one family friend admitted, voice trembling. "I thought I knew the truth, but these messages, they changed everything." Jasmine's defense countered with equal fervor, arguing that communications had been taken out of context, misinterpreted, or even fabricated. Her attorney emphasized her client's vulnerability, her past pressures, and her attempts to navigate a complex personal situation, seeking to humanize her and mitigate the narrative of deceit. The courtroom became a tense theater of cross-examinations, rebuttals, and interruptions, the emotional intensity amplified by the presence of family members, reporters, and an audience that seemed as invested in the drama as the litigants themselves. Outside, the story had evolved into a social media tempest. Fans dissected, leaked texts, debated motivations, and cast judgments, often forming polarized camps that defended one side while condemning the other. Memes, commentary threads, and fan theories proliferated, turning the trial into a spectacle that rivaled any reality TV showdown. The personal stakes were immense. Kirk's family, grappling with both loyalty and disbelief, argued privately over the best way to support him while maintaining dignity. Some siblings expressed outrage at Jasmine's alleged behavior. Others cautioned against public statements that could exacerbate tensions. The emotional weight of the trial extended beyond the courtroom, infiltrating private conversations, family gatherings, and even casual interactions, turning every exchange into a potential flashpoint. The day reached a fever pitch when new evidence emerged, a set of purportedly private recordings that seemed to contradict previous testimonies and added a layer of complexity that no one had anticipated. The courtroom collectively leaned forward, absorbing every word, every pause, every shift in tone. Reactions ranged from gasps to murmurs of disbelief, as each side attempted to reconcile the conflicting narratives. Emotions ran high, and even the judge occasionally had to call for order to prevent the proceedings from descending into chaos. Kirk remained measured, allowing his legal team to present the evidence and responding only when necessary, his demeanor conveying both the seriousness of the allegations and the personal toll they were exacting. Jasmine, visibly strained, struggled to maintain composure, her eyes occasionally welling with tears as her attorneys defended her and sought to frame the narrative in her favor. The media coverage amplified every moment. Live feeds, tweets, and instant news updates ensured that the public consumed the drama in real time, turning the courtroom into a stage and the participants into characters in a story that was part legal battle, part reality TV spectacle. Every gesture, every glance, every word was scrutinized, analyzed, and interpreted by fans and journalists alike. The personal stakes were intertwined with public perception. Friends, family members, and former associates of both parties provided commentary, often contradicting one another and creating a web of conflicting perspectives. The courtroom itself seemed to pulse with tension as these testimonies layered complexity upon complexity, revealing a story that was far from simple. As the day progressed, further revelations emerged. Alleged instances of attempted intimidation, emotional coercion, and financial leverage were detailed, while counterarguments highlighted possible misinterpretations, pressures, and mitigating circumstances. The interplay of accusation and defense created a narrative rich in tension, unpredictability, and emotional resonance, drawing the audience ever deeper into the unfolding drama. Outside, fans dissected every leaked snippet, debating the plausibility of claims and predicting the next moves in a saga that had become a cultural touchstone. The intensity of engagement reflected the larger dynamics at play: loyalty, trust, betrayal, and the complex human emotions that underpin public scandals. By the end of the fourth day, the courtroom had become a crucible of emotion, evidence, and strategic maneuvering. The narrative had grown beyond allegations of blackmail to encompass themes of family loyalty, personal integrity, and the public's insatiable appetite for drama. Kirk and Jasmine, once central figures in a relatively contained dispute, now represented opposing forces in a saga that captivated fans and commentators alike. With unresolved tensions, conflicting testimonies, and public scrutiny at an all-time high, the story promised further twists, revelations, and confrontations. Every interaction, every revelation, and every response carried the potential to shift public perception, intensify family conflict, and add new layers to a saga that had become both a legal and cultural phenomenon. As the fourth day concluded, the courtroom emptied under a charged silence, the audience aware that the next phase would likely escalate the drama even further. The stakes remained high, the story far from resolution, and every participant, Kirk, Jasmine, their families, and the global audience, was poised on the edge of anticipation, waiting for the next twist that could redefine the entire narrative and leave fans shocked, emotionally invested, and desperate for answers. The fifth day of the trial unfolded with a tension that seemed almost unbearable, as if the courtroom itself were holding its breath, waiting for the next revelation to ignite another round of drama. Kirk Frost arrived early, his expression carefully neutral but his eyes betraying the weight of the ordeal, while Jasmine entered moments later, poised yet tense, her fingers nervously clutching the folder of documents that had become a symbol of her defense. The media outside was relentless, cameras flashing, microphones thrust forward, and social media feeds ablaze with speculation and commentary. Fans dissected every movement, every glance, every gesture, amplifying the intensity that already filled the room. Kirk's legal team resumed their meticulous presentation, introducing additional pieces of evidence that seemed to reinforce the narrative of manipulation and blackmail. The documents, screenshots, and recordings detailed alleged threats, coercive demands, and attempts to pressure Kirk into financial compliance. Each exhibit was introduced with a narrative that emphasized intent, pattern, and the emotional toll that the actions had inflicted, leaving the courtroom audience riveted and emotionally invested. Witnesses took the stand, recounting moments of trust and betrayal, loyalty and deceit. Their testimonies were filled with tension, emotions running high as they described interactions that had previously seemed ordinary but now, under the lens of the trial, appeared fraught with hidden motives and unspoken threats. Some described moments of vulnerability on Kirk's part, illustrating the personal cost of the ordeal, while others highlighted instances where Jasmine allegedly leveraged intimate knowledge to intimidate and manipulate. Jasmine's defense worked diligently to reframe the narrative, presenting her actions as misunderstood, pressured, or misinterpreted. Her attorneys emphasized her emotional vulnerability, the complexities of the situation, and the possible misreading of intent. Seeking to cast doubt on the accusations and protect her public image, the courtroom was a stage for conflicting narratives, each testimony layered with emotional undertones, strategic omissions, and subtle gestures that spoke volumes. Family members were deeply involved, their emotions raw and exposed. Heated whispers, exchanged glances, and occasional outbursts reflected the strain of navigating loyalties, personal beliefs, and the public eye. Kirk's mother, often the voice of reason, could be seen quietly urging calm, her presence a stabilizing force amid the turbulence, while other relatives struggled to contain their outrage or disbelief. Outside, fans continued their relentless engagement, analyzing leaked documents, debating motivations, and speculating on the outcome. The social media frenzy was a reflection of the intensity inside the courtroom, amplifying the emotional stakes and creating a sense of global involvement in a deeply personal conflict. Unexpectedly, the day took a dramatic turn when a surprise witness appeared, someone intimately connected to both Kirk and Jasmine, whose testimony introduced a new dimension to the case. Their account revealed previously unknown interactions, emotional manipulations, and moments of confrontation that neither side had anticipated. The revelation stunned the courtroom, creating a ripple of shock, disbelief, and speculation. Every side reaction, gasp, raised eyebrow, whispered comment was noted, captured, and immediately disseminated across media channels. The testimony painted a picture of a conflict that was not merely financial but deeply personal, rooted in trust, betrayal, and the intricate dynamics of human relationships under pressure. Kirk remained composed throughout, his responses measured and deliberate. Yet moments of visible frustration and subtle emotional cracks revealed the personal toll of the public spectacle. Jasmine, meanwhile, oscillated between defiance and vulnerability, her expressions reflecting the pressure of defending herself while facing a barrage of allegations and public scrutiny. As the trial continued, tensions escalated when new correspondence surfaced, alleged letters and messages that indicated negotiation attempts, threats, and attempts to influence outcomes through coercion. Each piece of evidence was analyzed in real time by the media and dissected on social platforms, adding layers of suspense and complexity. The emotional impact on the family was palpable. Private arguments leaked into the public eye. Family members were caught in conflicting loyalties, and the once unified Frost family appeared fragmented and strained. Supporters of both sides vocally expressed their opinions, forming factions, debating motives, and interpreting the emerging narrative to fit their perspectives. The courtroom became a microcosm of the larger drama, a battleground of emotion, strategy, and public perception, where every gesture, word, and pause carried significance. By the end of the day, the trial had escalated to an unprecedented level of intensity. Allegations, counterclaims, emotional testimonies, and strategic legal maneuvers had combined to create a story that was as compelling as it was complex. Fans were captivated, commentators engaged, and the Frost family's private turmoil had become a public spectacle. With each revelation, each argument, and each display of emotion, the stakes grew higher, and the anticipation for the next phase of the trial intensified. Everyone involved, Kirk, Jasmine, their families, and the global audience was acutely aware that the next moments could dramatically shift the narrative. Secrets had been unveiled, trust had been tested, and emotions were running at a fever pitch. The courtroom was a crucible, and as the fifth day concluded, the story remained unresolved, the drama far from over, and the world watched with bated breath, waiting for the next shocking twist, the next revelation, and the next emotional confrontation that promised to push the saga to even greater heights. The sixth day of the trial opened with a tension so thick it was almost tangible, a culmination of days of revelations, confrontations, and explosive drama that had captivated fans and reporters alike. Kirk Frost arrived first, his presence commanding yet measured, his expression a careful balance between resolve and exhaustion. He had endured countless rounds of testimony, witnessed friends and family pulled into the storm, and seen the public and media dissect every word, gesture, and facial expression. Jasmine followed, her steps deliberate, lips pressed together in a thin line, her eyes darting toward Kirk with a mixture of defiance, apprehension, and perhaps a flicker of regret that she did not dare show openly. The courtroom itself seemed to vibrate with anticipation. Every journalist, every cameraman, every fan in the gallery could sense that the final revelations would be both shocking and defining. The media frenzy outside escalated even further, with live updates streaming in from dozens of reporters. Social media trending hashtags like #FrostFamilyScandal and #KirkVsJasmine, and fan forums erupting with speculation about potential outcomes. Inside, Kirk's legal team opened the day with an unprecedented level of detail, presenting evidence that traced months of alleged blackmail, financial coercion, and emotional manipulation. They systematically laid out text messages, emails, and even audio recordings that depicted a pattern of persistent demands, threats, and attempts to influence decisions through fear and leverage. The meticulous presentation left the gallery in awe, journalists scribbling notes furiously, and fans at home glued to screens, dissecting every new revelation. Witness after witness testified, each adding depth and nuance to a narrative that had already shocked audiences worldwide. Friends and confidants of Kirk described how deeply he had been affected, recounting instances of sleepless nights, anxiety, and moments when his usually composed demeanor had cracked under the weight of the alleged betrayal. Some witnesses detailed private conversations with Jasmine, revealing subtle threats cloaked in politeness, veiled ultimatums, and calculated pressure that appeared designed to manipulate. Jasmine's defense countered with intensity, attempting to contextualize each allegation, emphasize misinterpretations, and highlight moments where her actions had been defensive rather than coercive. Her attorneys argued that the evidence presented was selective, and that the interpretation of messages, tone, and context had been skewed to create a narrative that suited Kirk's position. The courtroom drama intensified when Kirk's mother unexpectedly took the stand. Known for her calm and measured presence, she appeared visibly emotional as she recounted her perspective on the unfolding conflict, highlighting both her son's character and the strain that Jasmine's alleged actions had imposed on the family. Her testimony resonated deeply, leaving many spectators in the gallery teary-eyed, while reporters outside captured the raw humanity of the moment. Unexpected twists kept the drama escalating. Midway through the proceedings, an anonymous witness whose identity was initially concealed provided testimony that contradicted previous accounts, suggesting that Jasmine's motivations were far more complex than simple greed or malice. The witness described situations of pressure, fear, and coercion that Jasmine had herself allegedly faced, complicating the narrative and adding moral ambiguity that left jurors, family members, and the public grappling with uncertainty. This revelation sparked immediate reactions, gasps in the gallery, whispered conjectures among attorneys, and live social media threads exploding with theories, accusations, and emotional commentary. Every participant in the trial became part of a larger, almost theatrical, narrative. Kirk's team leveraged the moment to frame a broader picture, one of betrayal, emotional exploitation, and the personal cost of trust broken. Jasmine's defense, meanwhile, emphasized her vulnerability, resilience, and attempts to navigate a situation fraught with complex interpersonal dynamics. The interplay of these narratives created a dramatic tension that seemed almost cinematic in scale. Private conflicts among family members surfaced once more, heated debates about loyalty, truth, and the appropriate response to unfolding events spilled into hallways, where cameras captured whispered confrontations and emotional outbursts. Kirk's siblings struggled to maintain composure, some taking his side, others advocating for a more cautious approach to the media frenzy that threatened to further fracture the family. Jasmine's relatives, meanwhile, wrestled with conflicting emotions: anger, disbelief, and concern over how her public image and personal integrity were being scrutinized under a relentless spotlight. Outside the courtroom, the story had become a cultural phenomenon. Fans and commentators analyzed every document, every snippet of testimony, every leaked detail, forming intricate narratives, drawing conclusions, and engaging in heated debates across forums, live streams, and social media platforms. Memes proliferated, screenshots circulated, and the public engagement reached levels rarely seen for legal proceedings, transforming a private conflict into a global spectacle of intrigue and drama. As the trial entered the afternoon, the intensity rose further. The attorneys unveiled yet another set of evidence: video footage of private encounters, allegedly showing Jasmine pressuring Kirk in ways that ranged from subtle intimidation to direct threats. The footage, while brief, was enough to provoke strong reactions, some sympathetic to Kirk, others questioning the authenticity or context. The court erupted in murmurs, gasps, and whispered commentary as each frame was analyzed, debated, and scrutinized. Kirk's composure held steady, though there were moments when a flicker of emotion crossed his face, a subtle tightening of his jaw, or a quiet exhale that revealed the strain he was under. Jasmine's expressions alternated between defiance, apprehension, and exhaustion, her attempts to maintain a calm exterior constantly tested by the mounting evidence and public scrutiny. The day reached a dramatic crescendo when a private text exchange was read aloud in court, depicting a conversation that allegedly revealed attempts to extort money, manipulate perception, and exert control over Kirk's decisions. The gallery reacted immediately, with audible gasps, murmurs, and even a few people covering their faces in disbelief. The media outside capitalized instantly, publishing headlines like "Explosive Text Reveals Alleged Blackmail," "Frost Family Drama Escalates to New Heights," and "Fans React to Shocking Courtroom Revelations." The emotional stakes were enormous. Family members were torn between defending personal loyalties and acknowledging the seriousness of the allegations. Friends expressed concern for both parties, recognizing the complex interplay of trust, betrayal, and public perception. Social media discourse reflected this complexity. As factions formed, alliances were debated, and the morality of the situation became a central topic of discussion. By late afternoon, tensions peaked when a surprise witnesser, close associate of both Kirk and Jasmine, took the stand. Their testimony added unexpected layers to the narrative, revealing private discussions, emotional conflicts, and moments of confrontation that no one outside the immediate circle had known. The revelations provoked a mixture of shock, empathy, and anger in the courtroom, as jurors, spectators, and family members absorbed the depth of the personal conflict. The back and forth between attorneys intensified, each side strategically dissecting testimony, challenging credibility, and presenting counter-evidence. Emotions ran high, and even the judge occasionally intervened to maintain order, emphasizing the seriousness of the proceedings while attempting to contain the surging energy in the room. Kirk, ever composed, occasionally allowed himself brief interjections, statements that were measured but carried the weight of personal conviction. Jasmine, visibly strained, responded with quiet determination, attempting to defend her actions while navigating the overwhelming pressure of the public and private scrutiny converging on her. As the day drew to a close, the courtroom was left in a state of unresolved tension, each revelation, testimony, and piece of evidence layering complexity upon complexity. The story had grown beyond simple allegations of blackmail into a saga of trust, betrayal, family loyalty, and public engagement, captivating fans and observers worldwide. Private discussions among family members continued late into the evening, revealing fractures, debates, and moments of reconciliation that were both heartfelt and fraught with tension. Fans online remained equally engaged, debating motivations, dissecting evidence, and predicting outcomes, their investment reflecting the emotional and dramatic weight of the trial. The saga had become more than a legal battle. It had become a global spectacle, a study of human relationships under extreme pressure, and a testament to the way personal conflicts can escalate into public drama. Every moment, every testimony, every glance, every whispered exchange was analyzed, speculated upon, and sensationalized, ensuring that the story would remain at the forefront of public consciousness long after the final gavel fell. By the end of the sixth day, the courtroom and the world outside were united in anticipation. Questions lingered. What would the final verdict reveal? How would the Frost family heal or fracture further? And how would fans reconcile the emotional roller coaster they had witnessed? Invested in a story that was both deeply personal and widely publicized, the drama was far from over. Each participant, Kirk, Jasmine, their families, attorneys, and the global audience, stood on the precipice of revelation, aware that the next chapter could be even more shocking, more emotionally charged, and more unforgettable than anything that had preceded it. Secrets still lurked beneath the surface. Alliances remained fragile, and emotions continued to run high. The stage was set for the final confrontations, the ultimate resolution, and the conclusion of a saga that had captivated the world with its intensity, complexity, and relentless drama. The story of Kirk and Jasmine, once a private matter, had become a cultural phenomenon, a testament to the power of personal conflict magnified through public scrutiny, and a reminder that betrayal, loyalty, and human emotion can intertwine to create narratives as compelling as any scripted drama. As the day ended, fans worldwide were left with questions, speculations, and a heightened anticipation for the next phase, knowing that the fallout from these 6 days of testimony would reverberate for months to come, leaving a lasting imprint on both the Frost family and the reality TV landscape itself. The courtroom reopened the next morning with a palpable tension that seemed to grip every corner of the room. Kirk Frost arrived first, moving with an unspoken determination, his gaze fixed on the proceedings that had already consumed weeks of his life. Jasmine followed, maintaining a careful composure, though the slightest twitch of her hand and the subtle shifting of her posture betrayed the mounting anxiety that had been building with every day of testimony. The media presence outside was overwhelming, a constant hum of cameras, microphones, and shouting reporters creating a palpable pressure that seemed to seep into the courtroom itself. Fans were already live-tweeting updates, speculating on strategies, and dissecting every moment as if they were part of the proceedings, their emotional investment creating a global audience that blurred the lines between private conflict and public spectacle. Inside, Kirk's legal team introduced a fresh wave of evidence, documents that painted a more detailed picture of the alleged manipulations and coercions that Jasmine had purportedly enacted. Screenshots, email chains, and voice recordings were laid out methodically, each one analyzed and presented with commentary that emphasized the apparent intent, pattern, and emotional impact. Witnesses were called to contextualize these interactions, offering perspectives on the personal toll it had taken on Kirk, from sleepless nights to moments of visible distress that had been previously hidden from the public eye. Jasmine's defense countered with strategic arguments, highlighting potential misunderstandings, pressures, and misinterpretations that might have influenced the presentation of evidence. Her attorneys emphasized her vulnerability, her attempts to navigate complex interpersonal dynamics, and the ways in which context could drastically alter the perception of communication. The courtroom became a dynamic battleground of narratives, each side seeking to control the interpretation of events, while navigating the emotional undercurrents that had become impossible to ignore. Family members were deeply enmeshed in the unfolding drama. Kirk's siblings struggled with conflicting loyalties, some offering unwavering support, others urging caution in the face of relentless public scrutiny. Heated whispers, glances, and occasional emotional outbursts reflected the strain that the trial had imposed on their relationships. Jasmine's relatives experienced similar turmoil, torn between defending their loved one and grappling with the implications of the allegations. The media frenzy amplified every nuance, transforming private disputes into public spectacle. Headlines, live streams, and viral posts dissected minute details, fueling discussions and debates about character, motive, and credibility. Social media communities formed factions, analyzing text messages, body language, and courtroom demeanor, as though participating in an interactive narrative where every reaction mattered. Midway through the day, a surprise witness brought an entirely new dimension to the proceedings. Their testimony revealed interactions and confrontations previously unknown to the public, shedding light on hidden conflicts and moments of emotional manipulation that added both complexity and moral ambiguity to the case. The courtroom reacted immediately, with audible gasps, whispered commentary, and visible tension as attorneys scrambled to address the new revelations. Kirk maintained a composed front, speaking deliberately when necessary, while Jasmine's expressions fluctuated between controlled defiance and fleeting vulnerability, revealing the personal weight of defending against accusations that seemed increasingly public and multifaceted. The attorneys leveraged each new piece of evidence strategically, constructing narratives of betrayal, coercion, and emotional exploitation, while simultaneously countering with alternative interpretations, context, and arguments for doubt. The dynamic of the trial had evolved into a high-stakes drama where emotion, strategy, and public perception were equally significant. As the day progressed, The intensity escalated further when the legal teams introduced communications that implied negotiation attempts, pressure tactics, and coercion, raising the emotional stakes for both parties. The gallery reacted strongly, murmurs rippling through the crowd, gasps punctuating the tense silence as each exhibit was revealed and analyzed. Kirk's family absorbed the weight of each revelation with visible distress, some offering quiet support, others voicing concern for the impact of ongoing media scrutiny on both Kirk and the family's reputation. Fans outside remained equally engaged, analyzing every released document, debating motivations, and speculating on the unfolding narrative. The trial had transcended the legal dimension, becoming a spectacle of human emotion, interpersonal conflict, and public fascination. As afternoon turned to evening, the tension within the courtroom reached a peak. Unexpected testimony illuminated personal moments, private arguments, and confrontations that had previously been shielded from public view, adding layers of intrigue and complexity. The narrative became more intricate, revealing conflicting motivations, hidden pressures, and the emotional consequences of every interaction. The back and forth between the attorneys intensified, each side carefully dissecting every statement, challenging credibility, and reinforcing their overarching narrative. While the gallery and media documented and amplified each development, the emotional strain was palpable. Kirk's controlled demeanor occasionally gave way to subtle expressions of frustration, exhaustion, or determination, while Jasmine struggled to maintain composure. Her reactions, a mixture of defensive poise and private vulnerability, each moment carried a weight that extended beyond the courtroom, influencing family dynamics, fan perception, and the broader public discourse surrounding the case. As the day drew to a close, yet another twist emerged. Previously unseen correspondence that suggested deeper strategic maneuvering, moments of personal negotiation, and interactions that blurred the lines between persuasion and manipulation. The revelation elicited gasps, murmurs, and intense focus from both the courtroom and the media, while fans dissected the documents in real time, forming theories and debating the implications. The Frost family was caught between shock, concern, and the complex calculus of loyalty and personal integrity, navigating emotional terrain made even more treacherous by the public's relentless attention. By the end of the sixth day extended into this new chapter, the courtroom had become a crucible of emotion, strategy, and revelation. Allegations, counterclaims, witness testimonies, and unexpected disclosures had transformed a private conflict into a multi-layered spectacle that engaged global audiences, captivated media attention, and challenged the participants to navigate personal and public stakes simultaneously. The drama had reached an apex where every gesture, statement, and pause was loaded with significance, influencing perceptions, fan engagement, and the unfolding narrative. Secrets were still being revealed, alliances remained fragile, and every participant, Kirk, Jasmine, their families, attorneys, and the worldwide audience stood at the edge of anticipation, knowing that each new development could fundamentally alter the story. The saga had evolved beyond simple allegations, encompassing themes of betrayal, trust, emotional manipulation, and family loyalty, leaving viewers emotionally invested and desperate for resolution. Even as the court adjourned for the day, the story continued to unfold online, in private discussions, and in the minds of fans who had followed every twist, turn, and revelation with rapt attention. The stakes were higher than ever, the emotions raw, and the narrative poised on the edge of further escalation, promising additional drama, confrontations, and revelations in the days to come, ensuring that the saga of Kirk and Jasmine would remain unforgettable in both reality and the annals of social discourse. The following day, the courtroom atmosphere was almost electric, charged with anticipation, tension, and the heavy weight of unresolved conflict. Kirk Frost entered first, exuding a quiet but unmistakable determination, his every step deliberate, his posture a blend of confidence and the subtle strain of days under scrutiny. Jasmine followed, walking with carefully measured steps, lips pressed tightly, her eyes darting to the gallery and the bench with fleeting glances that betrayed both apprehension and the determination to withstand the day's proceedings. Cameras flashed incessantly as media personnel jostled for position, microphones thrust forward in an unending cacophony of questions, and live feeds streamed updates in real time to a global audience that had become increasingly invested in every twist of the saga. Fans flooded social media, dissecting photographs, analyzing body language, and speculating on the possible outcomes of yet another day in what had become a courtroom spectacle rivaling any reality television drama. Inside, Kirk's legal team unleashed a meticulously orchestrated series of evidence pieces that chronicled what they described as a sustained campaign of manipulation, threats, and financial coercion. Every text message, email, and audio clip was presented with carefully crafted context, interpreted in ways that highlighted pattern, intent, and the psychological toll on Kirk. Witnesses, some longtime friends and confidants, others professional associates, provided testimony that painted a portrait of escalating pressure, emotional manipulation, and strategic coercion, detailing moments that had, until now, remained private but were now brought into stark, public view. The gallery was tense, the air heavy with the palpable impact of each revelation. Jasmine's defense responded with equal intensity, emphasizing context, potential misunderstandings, and the emotional complexity underlying each interaction. Her attorneys worked tirelessly to present her as vulnerable, navigating pressures and misinterpretations rather than acting with malicious intent. They underscored that context could drastically alter the perception of even the most seemingly incriminating messages, presenting arguments designed to humanize her and counterbalance the dramatic narrative constructed by Kirk's team. The courtroom, already a stage of high drama, became an arena of emotional and strategic interplay. Family members of both parties were deeply affected, the stress of ongoing public scrutiny and personal conflict reflected in whispered arguments, tense glances, and occasionally audible exchanges. Kirk's siblings grappled with a mixture of loyalty, concern, and frustration, debating whether to publicly align themselves or adopt a more measured, private stance. Jasmine's relatives wrestled with equally complex emotions, balancing support for her with the undeniable impact of the allegations on her public image and personal relationships. Outside, the media frenzy escalated further. Fans and commentators dissected every shred of information, creating a parallel narrative that blended reality with speculation. Hashtags trended globally, debates raged across platforms, and theories multiplied, each new piece of courtroom evidence feeding an insatiable appetite for drama. As the morning wore on, the courtroom experienced yet another dramatic twist. An unexpected witness, whose connection to both Kirk and Jasmine had remained previously undisclosed, took the stand, presenting a testimony that challenged assumptions, contradicted prior accounts, and introduced new layers of complexity. The witness detailed moments of pressure, emotional conflict, and subtle negotiation that had occurred behind closed doors. Moments that reframed prior evidence in ways neither side could have fully anticipated. The courtroom reacted immediately. Gasps, murmurs, and exchanged glances filled the room, as the weight of the new revelation settled over everyone present. Attorneys for both sides recalibrated their strategies on the fly, seeking to mitigate potential damage while leveraging the testimony to their advantage. Kirk maintained a measured composure, though subtle signs of strain, a slight tightening of his jaw, a quiet exhale, a fleeting frown betrayed the personal toll of enduring relentless scrutiny, unexpected revelations, and the intense emotional gravity of the day. Jasmine displayed alternating expressions of resilience and vulnerability, her poise tested by the mounting pressure, the continuous flow of evidence, and the intensity of public and private attention focused on her every move. The attorneys continued a delicate dance, presenting new evidence while responding to counterarguments, dissecting the credibility of witnesses, and framing narratives that could influence perception in subtle but profound ways. As the afternoon progressed, the tension reached new heights. Alleged communications depicting negotiation, coercion, and manipulation were read aloud, each message dissected in real time, generating a mixture of shock, disbelief, and emotional engagement in the gallery and among viewers following online. The Frost family grappled with the implications. Moments of whispered private conversation revealing deep concern, fear, and the complex calculus of loyalty, support, and self-preservation. Fans engaged with every development, sharing analyses, debating credibility, and speculating on the next moves. The courtroom had evolved beyond a legal setting. It had become a theater of human emotion, strategy, and public fascination. A dynamic interplay of personal stakes and global attention. In a dramatic moment, one of Kirk's longtime confidants recounted private interactions that had remained unseen until now, revealing instances of subtle intimidation, veiled threats, and moments of emotional pressure that painted a vivid picture of the personal cost of trust broken. Jasmine's legal team countered by framing these interactions as misinterpretations or misrepresentations, arguing that context and perception played critical roles in shaping the narrative, attempting to humanize her while mitigating potential reputational damage. The courtroom tension escalated further when new correspondence emerged, messages, emails, and purported recordings that suggested both parties had attempted private negotiations, sometimes in ways that blurred lines between persuasion and coercion. Each revelation generated immediate reactions, gasps, whispered commentary, and heightened focus from everyone present. Kirk's response was careful, his demeanor composed, yet tinged with emotion that spoke to the personal impact of enduring this relentless scrutiny. Jasmine's expressions conveyed the strain of navigating legal challenges, public attention, and familial dynamics simultaneously. As the day wore on, a final dramatic turn occurred when an anonymous informant revealed information that suggested an entirely new angle to the case, one that neither party had anticipated. The testimony suggested hidden motives, unseen pressures, and strategic maneuvering that complicated the narrative, adding a level of intrigue that intensified emotional stakes for both Kirk and Jasmine. Attorneys responded with rapid questioning, cross-examination, and strategic clarification, attempting to incorporate this revelation into their broader case strategies while maintaining credibility and persuasive force. Outside the courtroom, the media exploded with commentary. Fans shared theories, dissected every line of testimony, and debated implications with fervent passion. Social media became a whirlwind of speculation, emotion, and outrage, reflecting the heightened stakes and global fascination with a saga that had expanded beyond the boundaries of the courtroom. By the end of the day, the courtroom and the wider public were left with lingering questions, unresolved tension, and a narrative more intricate than ever. The saga had evolved into a cultural phenomenon, intertwining legal strategy, emotional complexity, and public scrutiny in ways that made resolution uncertain. Emotional impact, profound, and engagement worldwide. Every participant, Kirk, Jasmine, their families, attorneys, and the global audience remained caught in a web of anticipation, ready for the next twist, the next revelation, and the ultimate confrontation that would define the outcome. Secrets remained buried, alliances were tenuous, and emotions were raw, ensuring that the drama would continue to unfold in ways as shocking, unpredictable, and captivating as any reality television spectacle. The story, once private, had become public legend, an ongoing narrative of trust, betrayal, manipulation, and emotional consequence that captivated the world and left every observer wondering how it could possibly resolve without leaving lasting scars on those involved. The courtroom, media, and fan base were now inextricably linked, forming a collective audience for a saga that tested boundaries of privacy, loyalty, and morality, and promised that the fallout of each revelation would echo long into the future. Even as the day ended, the intensity remained, the questions unanswerable for now, and the audience, both in person and online, waited with bated breath for the next chapter in a story that had become as mesmerizing as it was harrowing. The following morning, the atmosphere inside the courtroom was almost suffocating with tension, a mixture of anticipation, anxiety, and the weight of unfolding drama that had gripped the Frost saga for weeks. Kirk Frost arrived first, his demeanor composed yet subtly tense, each step measured, every glance deliberate as if he were preparing for another day of relentless scrutiny. Jasmine followed, her posture rigid, her movements careful, eyes flicking toward the gallery, the bench, and Kirk himself, reflecting the inner turbulence that belied her outward composure. The courtroom, already a stage for emotional confrontation, now seemed charged with electric energy, the collective focus of family, media, and fans converging in a single space where every gesture, every word, and every pause carried monumental significance. Reporters jostled for position, microphones thrust forward, cameras capturing every subtle shift of expression, while live feeds broadcasted updates to an eager global audience that dissected each development with obsessive fervor. Fans analyzed every detail, from body language to courtroom reactions, crafting their own narratives and theories in real time, amplifying the intensity of what had become a spectacle as dramatic as any reality television show. Inside, Kirk's legal team began the day by presenting a new wave of evidence, carefully curated to demonstrate a pattern of alleged manipulation, intimidation, and coercion on Jasmine's part. Screenshots, emails, and audio recordings were meticulously displayed and analyzed, each piece interpreted to underscore intent, persistence, and emotional impact. Witness after witness testified, offering perspectives on the personal toll Kirk had endured, the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the moments of quiet frustration, and the visible strain that had often gone unnoticed until now. Their accounts painted a picture of relentless pressure and emotional upheaval, highlighting a conflict that went far beyond the public allegations of financial disputes. Jasmine's defense countered with strategic intensity, emphasizing context, misinterpretations, and emotional complexity. Her attorneys worked to reframe the narrative, portraying her actions as the product of stress, misunderstanding, or defensive reaction rather than deliberate malice. They underscored the importance of perspective and context, arguing that isolated messages or moments could easily be misconstrued when stripped of nuance. The courtroom became a theater of competing narratives, each side leveraging evidence, witness testimony, and emotional appeal to influence perception. Family members were deeply entwined in the proceedings, navigating their own emotional landscapes while balancing loyalty, concern, and the realities of public exposure. Kirk's siblings and parents oscillated between supporting him, advocating caution, and struggling to reconcile public scrutiny with private turmoil. Jasmine's relatives wrestled with the tension of defending her actions while recognizing the implications of mounting allegations on her reputation and emotional well-being. Outside, the media frenzy intensified. Headlines splashed across websites, social feeds exploded with speculation, and fans dissected every public statement, leaked document, and subtle gesture captured on camera. Social media became an interactive forum for theories, debate, and conjecture, creating a parallel narrative that existed alongside the formal legal proceedings. Mid-morning, the trial took another unexpected turn. An unanticipated witness, previously unknown to the public, appeared and delivered testimony that reframed several key elements of the case. Their account revealed hidden interactions, moments of private negotiation, and subtle emotional manipulation that neither party had anticipated. The revelation reverberated through the courtroom, eliciting gasps, murmurs, and a sense of stunned anticipation as the weight of this new evidence settled over all present. Kirk maintained a composed exterior, though the strain of relentless scrutiny and emotional intensity occasionally broke through, in subtle ways: a clenched jaw, a tightened fist, a brief, measured exhale. Jasmine alternated between defiance and vulnerability, her expressions reflecting the ongoing battle to maintain poise while navigating the relentless pressure of public attention, courtroom scrutiny, and the personal toll of enduring weeks of intense legal drama. Attorneys from both sides adapted swiftly, using the witnesses' testimony to reinforce their respective narratives while challenging interpretations presented by the opposition. Every question, every cross-examination, and every objection became a tool for shaping perception and controlling the narrative within the emotionally charged environment. As afternoon descended, the tension escalated further with the introduction of additional correspondence, including private texts, emails, and notes suggesting attempts at negotiation, manipulation, and strategic pressure that added layers of complexity to an already intricate case. Each document was read aloud, dissected, and debated, provoking strong reactions from the gallery and emotional ripples among family members who absorbed the gravity of the unfolding revelations. The media and fans outside immediately responded, sharing insights, speculation, and analysis, ensuring that the story continued to expand beyond the physical confines of the courtroom. In a particularly dramatic moment, one of Kirk's longtime associates recounted private encounters, highlighting interactions that allegedly demonstrated subtle threats, psychological pressure, and calculated manipulation. Jasmine's defense responded by framing these interactions in context, emphasizing potential misinterpretation and arguing for an understanding of emotional complexity, aiming to humanize her and mitigate perceived wrongdoing. The courtroom drama intensified when new evidence surfaced that revealed strategic maneuvering, emotional confrontations, and moments of private negotiation that blurred the line between coercion and persuasion. The implications were immediate and profound. Every participant in the courtroom, from attorneys to family members to the judge, recognized the deepening complexity and the challenge of assessing credibility, intent, and impact. Kirk's demeanor, while controlled, occasionally betrayed the emotional strain he endured, his responses carefully measured to maintain composure while conveying determination. Jasmine's expressions oscillated between resilience and fleeting vulnerability, reflecting both strategic effort and personal fatigue under the relentless scrutiny of the trial. The day's proceedings continued to escalate as witnesses introduced additional layers of testimony, each revealing more about interpersonal dynamics, hidden tensions, and the personal costs of trust broken. Allegations and counter-allegations were presented in rapid succession, creating an emotional rollercoaster that gripped the courtroom and captivated audiences worldwide. Private arguments among family members surfaced, occasionally leaking into public view through gestures, expressions, and whispered exchanges that were instantly scrutinized by media and fans. Outside, the story's intensity only grew. Social media threads, live coverage, and viral commentary amplified the emotional stakes, creating a feedback loop of engagement that influenced perceptions. Heightened drama and ensured global attention remained fixed on the Frost saga. By evening, yet another unexpected revelation emerged. A confidential witness presented evidence suggesting hidden motives, emotional pressures, and strategic decisions that neither Kirk nor Jasmine had previously disclosed. The testimony added moral ambiguity, created new questions, and challenged prior assumptions, leaving attorneys scrambling to integrate this new information into their cases. Gasps, murmurs, and intense focus filled the gallery. As the implications became immediately apparent, the conflict was not merely legal but deeply personal, layered with complex interpersonal dynamics and emotional stakes that defied simple resolution. As the trial drew toward the close of the day, the tension reached an almost unbearable level. Each participant, Kirk, Jasmine, their families, and the attorneys, was acutely aware of the significance of every statement, every reaction, and every decision. The drama had expanded beyond a courtroom battle into a global spectacle, engaging fans, media, and the public in a narrative that combined legal strategy, emotional intensity, and the intricacies of human relationships under extreme pressure. By the day's end, the courtroom remained a crucible of emotion, strategy, and suspense. Secrets, alliances, and motives continued to unravel, leaving observers both in person and online captivated by the unfolding story. The saga of Kirk and Jasmine had transcended the boundaries of a conventional legal battle, evolving into a culturally resonant drama of trust, betrayal, manipulation, and emotional consequence. The world watched, mesmerized, as the next phase promised further twists, heightened stakes, and revelations that could irrevocably alter the narrative, leaving the Frost family, the legal teams, and the global audience waiting for the next shocking development that would define this extraordinary saga. Every detail, every revelation, every nuanced gesture carried significance, ensuring that the story would continue to resonate in public consciousness, a testament to the drama, intrigue, and human complexity that had propelled this conflict into a spectacle of unprecedented scale. The courtroom was buzzing with anticipation as Kirk Frost took his seat, a calm determination etched across his features, though those closest to him could see the faint lines of tension that had deepened over weeks of relentless scrutiny. Jasmine entered moments later, her stride measured and deliberate, her eyes scanning the room with fleeting glimmers of anxiety and resolve, revealing the inner turbulence she had been battling silently while the world watched. Cameras clicked incessantly, reporters whispered into microphones, and the gallery seemed to pulse with energy, the collective attention of fans, media, and family members creating an almost tangible atmosphere of pressure. Social media erupted within seconds, as fans dissected the photographs, the expressions, and the minutiae of gestures, instantly forming theories and speculations, each adding fuel to the sprawling narrative that had become a global spectacle. Kirk's attorneys opened with a fresh barrage of evidence, introducing communications and documents that depicted what they characterized as a calculated campaign of intimidation and emotional coercion. Every email, text, and recording was carefully contextualized to underscore intent and pattern, presenting a narrative of relentless pressure that had weighed heavily on Kirk's emotional and mental well-being. Witnesses were called, each recounting instances of subtle manipulation, private confrontations, and moments where Kirk had been compelled to navigate complex emotional dynamics with little respite. The testimony was interwoven with vivid accounts of sleepless nights, anxiety-fueled days, and the strain on his personal and professional life, painting a picture of a man under siege not only by legal maneuvering, but by personal betrayals and strategic emotional pressure. Jasmine's defense countered vigorously, emphasizing the importance of context, human error, and emotional vulnerability. Her attorneys argued that the evidence could easily be misinterpreted, that moments of tension and conflict were part of natural interpersonal struggles rather than deliberate attempts at manipulation. They sought to frame Jasmine as a figure navigating extraordinary circumstances, her actions guided by complexity and circumstance rather than malice. The courtroom became a high-stakes arena where narrative control, perception management, and emotional resonance were as critical as legal arguments. Family members from both sides were deeply invested, their emotional reactions reflecting the strain of prolonged public exposure and the intricate web of loyalty, concern, and fear that bound them to the unfolding events. Kirk's siblings and parents oscillated between visible support and cautious restraint, navigating the delicate balance of family solidarity, personal conviction, and the potential fallout of each revelation. Jasmine's relatives experienced similar conflict, torn between defending her actions, maintaining credibility, and contending with the emotional weight of mounting allegations. Outside the courtroom, the media frenzy amplified each detail. Headlines exploded, tweets and posts circulated rapidly, and online forums buzzed with analysis and speculation. The narrative had transcended the confines of legal proceedings, entering the realm of cultural phenomenon, where every subtle shift, every new development, and every personal reaction was scrutinized and amplified. Mid-morning, the drama intensified as an unexpected witness appeared, offering testimony that cast previous evidence in a new light. The witness recounted private interactions, moments of negotiation, and subtle emotional pressures that neither party had anticipated, complicating the narrative and adding moral ambiguity to the proceedings. The courtroom reacted instantly. Gasps, whispered commentary, and heightened attention marked the collective response as attorneys scrambled to integrate this testimony into their ongoing strategies. Kirk maintained composure. Yet the weight of scrutiny and the personal toll of ongoing conflict were evident in fleeting expressions: a slight tightening of the jaw, a measured exhale, or a brief narrowing of the eyes. Jasmine's demeanor fluctuated between defensive resilience and visible strain, her expressions betraying the personal cost of enduring relentless public attention while contending with complex legal arguments. The attorneys engaged in a strategic dance, presenting evidence, challenging credibility, dissecting statements, and constructing narratives to influence perception, all while navigating the heightened emotional atmosphere. As the afternoon progressed, tension escalated further when a series of new documents emerged, including messages and emails suggesting negotiation attempts, strategic planning, and emotional leverage. The gallery reacted with audible murmurs and subtle exclamations, the weight of each revelation pressing on family members, attorneys, and observers alike. Fans and commentators outside immediately amplified every detail, sharing interpretations, forming theories, and debating implications in real time. The courtroom had become both legal battlefield and theater of human emotion, an arena where strategy, perception, and interpersonal stakes converged with unprecedented intensity. A particularly dramatic moment unfolded when one of Kirk's close associates recounted interactions that allegedly demonstrated subtle threats, psychological pressure, and orchestrated manipulation. Jasmine's defense countered, emphasizing the nuances of these interactions, arguing that context, perception, and emotional complexity shaped the meaning and impact of the communications, and attempting to humanize her actions in the face of mounting scrutiny. The intensity continued to escalate as further testimony introduced additional layers of complexity, revealing moments of negotiation, persuasion, and interpersonal tension that blurred the lines between coercion and influence. The courtroom audience, attorneys, and families were forced to navigate the intricacies of emotional and strategic interpretation, weighing credibility, motive, and the personal toll of long-standing interpersonal dynamics. Kirk's reactions, while composed, occasionally betrayed the cumulative stress of prolonged scrutiny, his responses measured but marked by subtle tension. Jasmine's expressions shifted between determined composure and fleeting vulnerability, a reflection of the struggle to maintain dignity, assert defense, and manage the emotional burden of continuous public and familial exposure. The day took an unexpected turn when previously confidential correspondence was introduced, shedding light on hidden interactions, undisclosed pressures, and private conversations that complicated the existing narrative. The courtroom responded with heightened focus, whispered observations, and visible tension as attorneys sought to incorporate the revelations strategically into their arguments. Fans, media, and commentators outside the courtroom immediately dissected the newly revealed information, generating waves of speculation, emotional reactions, and narrative construction that expanded the saga far beyond its original context. The courtroom drama intensified further as multiple witnesses were called to verify timelines, interpret communications, and provide context to interactions that had previously been subject to interpretation and debate. Each account added depth, nuance, and emotional weight, reinforcing the complexity of the narrative and the personal stakes involved for both Kirk and Jasmine. The Frost family's emotional responses were increasingly visible, oscillating between support, concern, and frustration as they absorbed the layered revelations and anticipated the impact of each moment on the broader trajectory of the trial. Media coverage amplified these dynamics, creating a feedback loop where courtroom developments, family reactions, and public perception interacted continuously, heightening drama and engagement. In the final hours of the day, an unexpected witness revealed information suggesting deeper strategic motives, emotional manipulations, and previously undisclosed pressures that neither Kirk nor Jasmine had acknowledged. The revelation prompted immediate recalibration from both legal teams, raising new questions about credibility, intent, and the ethical dimensions of private interactions now made public. Gasps, murmurs, and intense focus marked the courtroom, reflecting the gravity of the unfolding revelations. Kirk maintained measured composure, while Jasmine's expressions fluctuated between steely resolve and moments of visible strain, underscoring the personal and public challenges of enduring sustained scrutiny. By evening, the proceedings had transformed the courtroom into a crucible of emotional intensity, strategic maneuvering, and moral ambiguity. The drama extended far beyond the legal arena, reaching into family dynamics, public perception, and social media discourse, ensuring that each revelation reverberated across multiple spheres simultaneously. The saga had evolved into a cultural phenomenon, engaging global audiences, fueling speculation, and creating a narrative that was as unpredictable as it was captivating. As the day concluded, participants and observers alike were left with lingering questions, unresolved tensions, and the sense that the story was far from over. Secrets remained to be revealed, alliances remained fragile, and emotions were raw, guaranteeing that the next chapter would be equally intense, dramatic, and impossible to ignore. The Frost Saga, now a spectacle of trust, betrayal, manipulation, and emotional consequence, continued to captivate, ensuring that fans, media, and the public would remain intensely engaged with every development, anticipating the next revelation, confrontation, and twist that would define this extraordinary and ongoing drama as the dust settles on yet another explosive chapter in the Kirk and Jasmine saga. One thing is undeniable: the twists keep coming, the stakes keep rising, and the world is watching with bated breath. Families are divided, friendships tested, and fans around the globe remain glued to every update, dissecting every glance, every word, every move in this high-stakes drama. Kirk's bold move to expose alleged blackmail has sent shockwaves through both his inner circle and the wider public, while Jasmine's counter-narrative's defiance and carefully crafted defenses continue to fuel speculation and debate. The courtroom battles have revealed more than legal arguments; they have unveiled the emotional complexity, the human fragility, and the raw vulnerabilities that lie beneath the public personas. Every new testimony, every leaked document, every dramatic exchange has pushed the story into uncharted territory, leaving questions about trust, loyalty, and personal motives hanging in the air. Will Kirk succeed in proving his claims? Will Jasmine's strategies withstand the scrutiny of both law and public opinion? The answers remain uncertain, and that uncertainty is what keeps the drama alive, compelling, and impossible to turn away from. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think really happened behind closed doors? Who do you believe is telling the truth, and who is playing a calculated game? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Join the debate, and let your voice be part of this unfolding story. Don't forget to like this video if you found it gripping, and subscribe to stay updated with every shocking revelation as this saga continues. The drama is far from over, the stakes have never been higher, and the world is watching. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss a single moment of what happens next.